Welcome. Welcome and thank you for joining today. We have a lot to cover off today and I'm looking forward to the conversation amongst a very interesting panel. Today we'll be discussing how organizations can optimize their data experiences for insights-driven decision-making. My name is Himesh and I'm a senior data strategist at Appnovation, where my role is to help organizations evolve their competencies, skills, and applications around data and analytics. I'll be the moderator for our panel discussion today. Our goal today is to help bring some focus in on some strategic approaches and considerations when leveraging your data, and also explore some forward-thinking applications of it. Before we get into things, I'd like to cover off some quick housekeeping. Today's session is going to be recorded, so it will be available for all to replay. We have about 40 minutes for a panel discussion, 10 minutes to explore into the Looker platform and how it fits us in the development for data-driven insights. 10 minutes for a Q&A, and then we'll wrap it up from there. Please submit your questions into the Q&A tool below and not into the general chat. We'll be able to prioritize from there. And if we don't get a chance to answer your questions today, we'll be sure to follow up at your convenience. Today's panelists were selected to help bring unique perspectives around building data-driven insights. Their skills cover technology, user experience, and data strategy. Let's meet the panelists today. I'd like to give everybody to give a quick introduction of who you are, and let's hear about some of the impact that you'd like to drive. So let's start with Gavin.
Hi, I'm Gavin S., the Technology Director at Appnovation. I try and elevate the conversations we have around technology with our customers to find new ways to solve hard problems with innovative thinking.
Thanks, Gavin. Let's move on to Anton.
Thanks. My name is Anton Morrison. I am the Vice President of Experience Design at Appnovation. Very much looking forward to this panel discussion today. I'm really here to advocate for the user, whoever needs insights when we're designing things, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how we do that in the process.
Excellent. And last, we'll get an intro from Skander.
Hi everyone, I'm Skander Larby. I'm the head of Embedded Analytics Solution at Looker, and my role is to help our customers building modern data application with our platform, as well as going to market with their innovative product.
Thank you. With all that in mind, let's start off with a quick poll. I'm going to pull up the tool. So, what challenges have your internal teams experienced around BI when working with data? Is the data overwhelming and or unclear with relation to insights? Do you have issues with time to value? Are there issues with augmenting your BI by productizing the data? Or all of the above? And then we're going to have a second poll quickly. It was pulled up a little bit early, but if you can also answer, the second question is, does your organization currently have plans to augment your BI by building data products? Either yes, no, or you'd like to learn more. Okay. And let's move on. Or actually, before we move on, I'm going to take a look quickly into some of the responses. So for number one, what challenges have your internal teams experienced around BI when working with data? 42% answered all of the above. We have 8% or 35% on this data is a bit overwhelming, which is a very common response. And then time to value at 20%. It's interesting that we're not seeing anybody answering with augmenting BI by productizing data, but I think that's something we'll be able to discuss today too. Finally, does your organization currently have plans to augment your BI data? Interesting that we have about 57% saying yes on that. And it's a great conversation, and then we'll dig into it a little bit more. Okay, let's move on. So we're going to start kicking off. Let's jump in and explore the idea of the idea that we're surrounded by data yet starving for insights. Organizations continue to compile more and more data and spend thousands of hours producing reports that serve only to confuse, overwhelm, and paralyze the decision-making process. How do organizations break this cycle and refocus on truly objective-driven actions? So my first question to the panelists is, what does being data-driven really mean? I think maybe I'll drop that over to Gavin first.
A lot of organizations believe that they are data-driven, but really they might not actually be. A lot of studies show that more than 50% of people rely on their gut to decide things, even when confronted with evidence to the contrary. Being data means using data to make decisions and really understand how things are working in your business with that data. Recent surveys of C-level executives have found that only 24% have created a data-driven organization, and of that, only 30% have a well-articulated data strategy for their company. As Drucker once said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. People, process, change management, skill sets, and resistance are really the biggest impediments to becoming data-driven at the majority of organizations, while technology is a distant second. Getting more value from data isn't a technology problem, though there's plenty of organizations that have sunk a lot of money into BI tools, and they might disagree. Not a lot of people really complain about not having enough data. It's figuring out what you can do with that data to get the most value from it. Data saturation is everywhere. And it's really our ability to make sense of the data doesn't match their ability to collect data. Only 33% of firms can trust their data enough to use it effectively and derive value from it. You really can't make progress until you have faith in your numbers.
That's interesting. So how do we get past these barriers and move to being really data-driven?
I think one of the big things is looking at embedded analytics, really the move beyond dashboards to unlock actionable insights to the entire organization and beyond. 67% of managers and executives report that they were not comfortable using their analytics tools. You need to bring insights to people by embedding analytics in the tools they already use. Few people are asking for yet another tool to have to log into and figure out how to use. Democratize your data and build an inclusive data culture through better data experiences.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let me jump to the next question. So what key challenges have you experienced around data? And I think let's put this one to Anton.
Yes, so I think there's a lot of challenges we see when we kind of talk to any of our clients about becoming data-driven. I think, data-driven is one of these things that's a bit like digital transformation. It takes a long time, and sometimes it fails, or by the time you've done that data transformation, you're out of date anyway. So kind of looking at what Gavin was talking about there, we need to take away the data-driven aspect from just one department and bringing everybody together to think about it holistically, to look at who need the data and insights and when they need them and how they need them, and really bringing a kind of a design thinking mentality to data projects. There's a lot of projects out there that get siloed, and the IT are running them with data and they think they're doing a great job, but when these projects come to light, the people that are meant to use the insights and that, they're like, we don't really need that, we need this. Why are you giving me that? I've already got this. And a lot of time and effort is wasted in the process to get that. So bringing everyone together, including the users, and putting a design thinking mentality through that, which is, design thinking is becoming a bit of a buzzword, but at the heart, it just brings the human element to anything you're doing. Who's going to be using these things? When are they going to be using them? Why are they going to be using them? And you start to build out your data and your delivery of that data to meaningful people, and that drives that insight. Yeah,
that's very interesting. I think it does come down to a bit of a cultural shift and really working to be collaborative across the organization.
Yep.
Okay, so what would you say is the key to unlocking actionable insights from existing data, Anton?
Well, yeah, I think it's a lot of what I was mentioning there about understanding who needs the insights and what they can get, but also when we go in and talk to clients, there's a lot of, it's kind of like an embarrassment about where they're at in the data journey. You know, they feel as though they've got all this data. They hear we should be a data-driven company. The best companies out there are data-driven, but they don't really admit to where they are in that journey. And you know, we have this idea of a data maturity scale, you know, and some companies are quite early on in that data maturity, and some companies are really advanced, and you know, they're the ones that are productizing their data, and they're the ones that are doing some amazing stuff. I think the first thing that we ask our clients to understand is where they are, so that we can get insights and get using their data there and start off in the journey that they need to take, and not kidding ourselves on it. They're at a different part of that journey and spinning their wheels and really not getting the insight they need.
Yeah, that maturity framework's very interesting, because we see a lot of people that think that they're at one spot, but they're a little bit all over the place, but it brings some rigor to it. Skander, same question to you. So what, in your opinion, is the key to unlocking actionable insights from data? And where are you seeing the biggest return on investment here?
That's a really good question, Emma. So before even starting, and I really like what Gavin and Anton said on productizing and bringing the data where employees and customers are working, and also the human-centric approach. But also, I think, and from a platform standpoint, is having a single source of truth and having basically all the stakeholders looking at the insights from the same lens. So defining the same metrics across your organization, whether it's internally and externally. I give you an example here, like a gross margin should be defined in the same place. Second of all, I think as an example, and just to add some colors to what Gavin said, is, for example, employees are now working on, you know, cross devices, cross platform, different products, receiving emails. So all this information needs to be delivered where your audience is working on. Lastly, or actually not lastly, but from an opening the door of those insights, it's really being able to have your customers data driven. A lot of companies, as Anton said, are at different maturity level. What's interesting is offering the same capabilities to your customers. It's not about internal business intelligence. There's a shift to external analytics. And to that regard, I think your second question was about the return on investment. I think the formula around the return on investment is having a low implementation cost. I mean, this is really important, like beyond capabilities and monetizing data, having a low implementation, low maintenance cost, but also being able to monetize this data. Every day we have customers that say, hey, I sit on a lot of data, which is a regenerated asset, as you know, and it's like, how do we monetize it? And for that, of course, you need to productize it. And I think lastly, part of the formula is how fast you can go to market and type into those new market with a data product offer. So I think being able to be agile and go quickly to market is the third component of the formula for a healthy return on investment with your data products.
Most definitely. I do like the idea of sort of keep it simple, don't overcomplicate things, and then speed and agility is very very important here. Actually, that brings us into our second segment here. While being data-driven is the ultimate goal, organizations need to ensure they support and take action on it in a timely manner. Let's dig into the notion of speed and agility and a more pragmatic approach to achieving it. So my first question, and I'll put this to Gavin, is what fundamental shifts are you seeing in the industry?
We've heard so much about pivoting and shifting in the last years. I'm really surprised everyone's not dizzy by now. It's been the year of the pivot. But I really think that it's less of a shift and more of a realization of the value of agility. You really want to both survive and being able to take advantage of that time to be able to react and get the most value of that reaction as possible. And really, I don't see the world slowing down anytime soon. If anything, things are getting faster and faster. So we're going to see more of this focus on agility and time to market. And really, that comes down to how do we get an idea from that conception to value to into production in the shortest possible path. And really, we don't want to undertake massive engineering projects where the payoff is unknown. We've all been there and have the scars of those projects, but we really want to start small now and iteratively add value over time. And I think one of these shifts really comes from this idea of moving from data warehouses to data lakes. These days we have both exponentially more data and then more ability to process that data. And really we look at the value being created on the output side, getting the data out of your data lake versus the input side, getting that structured data into it. And really these tools like Looker and BigQuery have accelerated this process, and we can avoid these multi-year projects where all of that effort is put into upfront analysis. The value isn't in the data stored, but those analysis and insights that you derive from it. And really it comes down to this, is you don't know what questions you're going to ask next year. So don't structure your data around where you are today. Kind of one more shift, if I may, is the idea we want to get insights in front of people where they are and what channels make most sense to them. Like Skander said, this may be text messages or even talking to your Google Assistant, asking Google what is the news and what is the most important things for today, getting those bite-sized snacks of your data on your phone on the train to work. And really it's bringing those insights to people. You shouldn't have to wait till you get to work to log into your BI tool to get insights. Those insights should get to you. And it's really the difference between getting an alert that your team closed a big sale versus seeing an uptick in revenue on a graph on a dashboard. It's being proactive, not reactive.
Yeah, I do like that. And as much as I don't like using catchphrases, but I think crawl, walk, run really applies here to get you where you need to go.
Definitely.
What concrete things can you do as a team to achieve speed and agility? And I think maybe I'll throw this one over to Anton.
Thanks. I don't like the phrase crawl, walk, run, but I have my own phrase where when we talk about speed and agility, iterate, iterate, and iterate. I mean, that is the key to everything that we're trying to do within an agility model. And, you know, Skander, you mentioned like low maintenance, faster time to market. Being more agile and being more iterative in your process means reducing risk. So you're bringing things to market that you know that customers need, or you know that is going to add value to the users. And also an element of experimentation comes with iteration. So think about things in a smaller scale, bring in and co-create with your users as you're doing it, so that you're validating and understanding exactly what's being used as you go through that process. An example, we actually we just finished we redesigned the user experience of an administration platform for a product company. I can't name the product, but the product basically sits on enterprise level e-commerce sites and helps to create rules that lets the customer get things in their basket faster. So through related products, cinnamons, so is ways that you can improve search results and basically get products in front of customers. So as we went through this redesigning, we were focusing on the managers that created these rules. And one of the things that we noticed was they would flip over to the dashboards to see what rules were working and then come back and try to use those rules. So what we did was we started to look at how we could embed some of those results as the user was creating these rules to bring in what had been happening previously as the user was entering the rules. And then we just did some smaller things like, you know, bringing in some of the results of these rules through the tables and just thinking less of dashboards and actually thinking about bringing the results of these things in micro interactions with users. So we would not really have seen that unless we were sitting in front of the user and seeing how they actually create a rule. And as soon as we could see that, we're like, okay, well, why don't we bring that information into the workflow of creating a rule?
Yeah, I like that. And it's a good point. The relationship between iterative design and experimentation, they go hand in hand there.
Yeah, it's all about validating. I mean, design is just hypothesis. We think this is going to work, so we have to validate that. The earlier and the more often you can validate that, the less risk and money you spend before you release these features or products.
Completely. Gavin, so why would a product development team choose the Looker platform?
Good question. I think to approach it from a bunch of different directions, first of all, LookML gives you a huge amount of data modeling power. Your developers can join and transform data and then build a model that can be shared with the entire company. You're able to build something in one place and then collaborate with your whole entire organization. And kind of to double down on this collaboration is this developer-centric workflow in Looker enables you to manage the work in Git and then collaborate. And I think it sounds like a minor point, but really having configuration as code is a huge boom to teams because it allows this faster experimentation. And it's such a huge improvement over worrying about backups and breaking things and how to share dashboards and your visualizations that you develop. And you can also develop these custom visualizations in the same tool set that you're used to. If you know JavaScript, you don't have to learn anything new that's proprietary. If you know D3, you can also leverage that for powerful data visualizations in Looker. And it's really not just Looker, it's Looker and a powerful ecosystem. Looker combined with BigQuery ML gives you that power of predictive analytics in your same tool with the same data that you've already worked on cleaning and modeling and building value from.
Interesting. Skander, same question to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will answer you from the lens of what I hear from product managers. We work with companies, that have like millions of users in their business application that they offer to their customers. And when they come to us, even before talking about visualization and BQML and really all those important things that Gavin mentioned, they ask us about security. Why? Because we are in the business of data. So security, it's not just about how secure it is, it's how compliant it is. And I'm thinking of, HIPAA, SOC 2 Type 2. So working with a platform first that is born in the cloud, for the cloud, that brings the whole security, the enterprise security grade. Second, what I think is very important for our customers is the ability to scale. So I know this word is sometimes overused, but the way I see scaling is about scaling horizontally, vertically, but also geographically. Nowadays, products are multi-regional, multi-continent, and having the ability to surface data where the data is with a platform that can stay with you. And sometimes we have clients that say, hey, we have issues, we have a new data product that we want for our customers in this country, and there is constraints around data sovereignty. So sometimes it's not, as Gavin said, it's not sometimes about just the pure technicality. Sometimes we have things that are now more geopolitics. So it's very interesting to have a platform that understands that. Third, we talked about having the multi-channels of delivery, fascinating, but you need a platform and not just a V's tool. You need a platform that allows you, yes, to have iframes, dashboard, visualization, I would say a human interface, but you also have a platform that has an API that is API first. Why? Because it's part of the BI world. We want to go beyond business intelligence, and we need an API that allows us to intersect with other fascinating products and other services. So having data as a service through an API is extremely important. And lastly, there's so much to talk about a platform, but having the ability to be localized. I talked to it through the lens of scalability, but having the ability to be able to translate your product, because accessibility and data democratization, guess what? Also go through having data information translated to the people who are actually going to take decisions with this information. I think there are other points that I can make on our technology. One last, I think I'm always going to use Gavin on the core data, but he said something fascinating about, we've seen exponential amount of data, just having a platform that also connects to any databases, any SQL databases, and also not having yet another BI tool that want to move your data away from your warehouse, but being able to compute, process the data where your data is already located without having to again go through a transformation mechanism. So that's what I think, more than I think, that's what the Looker platform does. And for all those reasons, I think that's where you can confidently build a product on top of it.
Interesting. How have you seen companies you work with pivot, such as finding new customers and new ways to offer services and products?
Well, and I don't want to talk necessarily about just COVID, but we're in a world of fast change. And last December, one of the chief data officer at a major retail global company came to us and said, "Well, we mastered our business, right? Retailing and offering product at a great value to their customers, but they say we don't know how to build a data product to type into a new market, which is they wanted to offer a digital offer for their suppliers, and they didn't have the experience. They're not basically software engineer; they were really in the retail business, and when they came to us and they said, well, we want to bring this application, we said, well, we can, if you already have a portal, we can embed your vision into your business application. And they created a portal for their suppliers in order to access insights about the product they were selling into the different retails globally. So they were able to drill down. You can imagine, like, shaving cream, you want to analyze shaving cream by region, you want to analyze how much shaving cream you're selling into this particular store. And lastly, they say, well, we really love to monetize. And of course, I'm making this story short because we have a lot to cover today, but we also wanted to monetize this data. So what they created, thanks to the modeling layer of Looker, they created a competitive analytics. Since they had the data of all suppliers, they created a way to have competitive analytics into their product. So what ultimately they've done, they created a new digital offering for their customer that basically, I think they planning to add an extra $60 million revenue line. So what I think, I don't think I can answer perfectly the question about pivoting, but I think it's more creating, evolving, and adding a new revenue channel, as well as entering a digital front door for your business. That's what I learned from this customer.
I like that. I like that. It speaks well to how you evolve and mature yourself across that analytics maturity model. That's probably a good segue into our third segment here. I want to talk about augmenting BI with data products. So why do we stop at being an insights-driven organization? With embedded analytics, you can deliver advanced analytical capabilities as either part of your product or service, or as an add-on. Organizations that do see lifts of up to 23% in 23 times in X in customer acquisition, 6x greater retention, and up to 19x more profitable than their competitors. Let's drill into the concept of using data and analytics as a way to serve your customer base. We did the second poll already, so I'm just going to jump into the questions here. Skander, this one's for you. So who benefits from embedded analytics?
So I think every companies nowadays that have a product, not necessarily related to data analytics, but could be an API service, could be retail, e-commerce, beauty, anything, should have in their product a way to communicate with their customers and provide them a level of insight. So customers that don't have data as a product are definitely the one that should consider it. Second, we see a lot of customers that had in-house analytics or some, I would say, outdated analytics stack that they bring in their product that are very hard to maintain and evolve. So those customers come to us pretty much every day and they say, we want to modernize our analytical capabilities and build modern data applications. Lastly, I think, and that goes back to what Gavin said about thinking of creating new data experience, not just visualization, but being able to creating, for example, an engaging platform, like sending text messages. It could be micro analytics that you receive on your text message, or having data analytics on a screen on the manufacturing line. All those customers should consider embedding a data product for all the reasons we talked about around scalability and not having basically to reinvent the wheel with a data analytics platform.
Interesting. Anton, what, in your opinion, does a modern data company of the future look like?
Good question. I mean, I wouldn't even say a data company. I'd say like any company that offers products or services. We've been starting to think a lot about this term called the Benjamin Button effect. You know, and some of the best companies out there that, unlike a normal product that decays over time, the Benjamin Button is an old book that Scott Fitzgerald wrote, where you reverse. So as more people use your product is more valuable. So think of, you know, Netflix. The algorithm gets better the more people that view things. You get better recommendations. Also, like Waze, you know, the more people that give information about that, the more data, the better it comes to the customer. So kind of like focusing on what Skander was saying as well, is like trying to think about your data as a product for your company as well, and getting better over time is really the next generation of where these companies should be thinking about. And even, you know, like if you think about requests from customers, right, that can be data. You can find new streams of revenue through all these requests, because you're starting to see that, well, we never knew all these customers needed this thing, and we have this here that we can create something that covers those needs. So using your data to even understand where your next product should go, or your next service should go for your client, for your customers, or if you can find a whole new customer from your data as well. So really having, you know, like having your data as this engine for innovation, you know, looking at new white space that you can focus on, improving operationalization of your workforce internally as well. So I think the modern companies are really, you know, like we've mentioned democratization of data and etc., but the data should really be the heart of the decisions, where they're going to go in the future, where they're going to find new spaces.
Interesting. I like that. So where is BI heading, and what are the trends? What are the different ways organizations can leverage their data? And maybe I'll ask Skander on that one.
Thanks so much. No, I think I'll try to obviously answer it in a very humble way, because it's a very wide question, but business intelligence, and I started over 10 years ago, was always for me like line chart, pie chart, and data analytics, and KPIs, and all of that. What I've seen so far, and I'm actually fascinated about how it goes, and I always talk about beyond BI. I would actually discuss 3 vectors, and that's actually how I think about any data product that I'm looking at, but I'm also myself using on a day-to-day basis. I look at the future of BI being always composed with data, and the data as a service coming through API, or all the components we talked about, those visualization. But there are, I would say, 3 vectors that are very important and caught and really dear to my heart when I work with my customers. The first one is AI and machine learning. And when I say AI and machine learning, it's not really in a buzzy way. It's really talking about recommendation. Like, how can you, of those insights that you harvest in your product, how can you help customers and users to understand what they are seeing by recommending and making some prediction to help them in their decision making. Second, the automation aspect, like having, when there's an alert or something happening in those insights, just send it by email to your customers, send a text message, having a platform that is proactive. Your customers are not going to be logged in front of the dashboard and waiting until something happens. And for that, you can intersect with, of course, other services, text messages, messaging systems, Slack, Team, Google Chat, etc. And lastly, of course, working with Appnovation, I've also myself learned a lot about the design thinking, the user interface, the user experience. You need to humanize insights. It's not about line chart, pie chart, and columns, data columns. It's about understanding and visualizing how the business looks like. Besides those three core components, as Anton said, the future of BI for me is about really taking the data as a product. So productizing data. And why productizing data? Because you want this product to become a new asset. Sales asset says you can monetize it indirectly. What Anton said about adding those sentimental analysis, correlation analysis to your product. So augmenting the value of your core product. And we have also seen a lot of our customers actually selling those insights. So having a direct monetization channel in finance, in real estate, in e-commerce. So creating new way of generating revenues. And lastly, this is more personal comment. I've seen this shift across all industries. I can't tell you today, Emash, or this is more finance, or this is more healthcare. This is something we've seen, and it's been accelerated for, I think, the past 18 months. I've never seen such an acceleration on this forefront of taking data as a product, as an approach.
Yeah, that's very fair. We've seen a lot of these trends as well. So Skander, how has Looker been able to help organizations extract further value from their data, as you're saying, productizing their data?
We can maybe, I don't know if it's the time to pull an example, but really what Looker has been able to provide to our customers is helping them focusing on their core product and alleviating all the pain around, I want to build a data analytics platform. I want to build a schedule feature. I want to build a self-service exploration. I want to build an API for my data. So we basically equip them with a platform that they can basically take and customize into their product in order to go to market. And as Anton said, experimenting new ways of adding value to their core product.
Excellent. I understand you have an example that you wanted to share also.
Yeah, I always thought like one image is worth 1,000 words. This company, Postman, it's a startup, I think, based off San Francisco. And what they do is a collaborative platform to develop APIs within the organization. And when they come to us, they say, well, our business is to build a collaborative platform for APIs and be able to, run APIs test, input, output, and testing things. What they said is for our enterprises, we need to provide them insights. Why? Because we want to increase the conversation about providing top down, metrics, how many APIs are consumed, et cetera, like we ton of insights. But they say our business is not to build a data analytics platform. So they plug their data into Looker, all of this data they collected, and were able to go to market within 45 days. I gave a brief overview of how an architecture looked like. It's like, really, I don't want to go in depth, but it's really like from data to product. And they didn't go from data to internal business intelligence. They were really thinking product first. And of course, they're monetizing this offer to their enterprise tiers of customers.
Interesting. What type of challenges have you seen when customers look to build these types of products on their own?
So, I mean, the first one is the one that really comes, I think, probably the first 5 minutes of a conversation with a customer is everything around permissioning, like giving access to those insights. Why? Because companies have different level of access. You want to provide certain insights to managers. You want to give certain access to some operators. So everything around, hey, I have my data. How am I able to permission it and provide the right insight to the right audience? So everything around security and permissioning. Second, really the scalability. You have an in-house product, and then you run into the technical debt of not having the platform to scale. Lastly, I think it's the flexibility. We have customers that say, oh, I have those insights, I have my visualization, but now I have a mobile application. I want to provide this exact insight. So everything comes down to having the platform that, again, offer you all the different technical tools to use the API when it comes to an API access, or provide you an iframe or an SDK when it comes to create or extend the product.
Interesting. Gavin, what are your thoughts on this?
I think one of the things is the analytics projects are hard. Like somewhere between 60 and 85% of these projects fail, and really that's a lot of different difficulties to overcome. And really, I always joke that if it feels like smooth sailing, then you might be missing an iceberg somewhere. And really, it comes down to several things. Is some projects run into problems due to being overly ambitious without having a lot of business stakeholders from the right part of the organization to help break down the organizational barriers that they're facing and dealing with this siloed data. You're trying to pull insights across the organization. You need to get the organization aligned together. And good partners can help by bringing both methodology, technology expertise, and strategy to play to really augment your teams. And it's really, can your team show real results in a short period of time that are directly linked to real business problems, and then productize the results of that work? And I think that's where partners like Appnovation can come and help customers succeed with their analytics projects.
I like that. I like the concept of being very pragmatic in your approach and biting off as much as you can chew at that time. Maybe to close off this segment, Skander, I'd like to get an idea, what transformational changes have you seen companies experience both before and after they've implemented these analytics?
Well, what's been transforming, they basically change the perception of it on how they can go to market. So for example, when we work with Appnovation, some customers say, well, I want a dashboard into my product. And working with Appnovation and bringing more advanced capabilities, the one we discussed, right? Like having advanced UI, adding some automation, adding some components that are beyond business intelligence, like really creating a modern data product. We've seen pretty much, all our customers saying, we've increased our engagement of our product. We increased acquisition, we increased retention, or people now use our product. So because we are all product and technologists, even before talking about monetization and making money, you don't make money if people don't use your service and your product. And really, this is what, when we partner with companies like Appnovation that bring their expertise combined with our platform, that's when we, I would say, show the light to our customers and how far they can go in the innovation. And second, of course, because a lot of our, I'm sure people listening to us, they are profit company, of course, non-profit are also focusing on the ROI. Having a data product that you can confidently put in the hands of your customers to engage a conversation about the data, you become vital for your customers by adding and bringing value, by sharing insights with them. You can, of course, think of how can I monetize it, and monetize it in a very healthy way because you have this product that makes your customers successful. So I think those are the two things that came to my mind when you asked me this question.
Interesting. I do like those directions. We are running a little bit behind. I think everything's extremely interesting at this point. I would like to jump into a demo with this. So I guess this is really where Looker comes in. It provides operational analytics, self-service exploration, and Appnovation as the go-to partner to handle implementation and customization of the product. Saad, I'm going to introduce now, will now be joining us to walk through the demo of Looker. Saad, could you just give us a quick introduction and then give us a peek into Looker?
Yeah, for sure. Hey guys, I'm Saad. I'm a product manager with Appnovation here in Toronto. So with this, we wanted to make a shareable example of what everyone can make with Looker. So a couple of months back, we kind of looked at what were some of the pressing business problems that can be solved or can help data can help solve. And one of the big things that we've seen not only at our company but also at our partners and clients was employee experience. So we kind of had a look at that and kind of ideated and thought about how we might be able to help companies through data manage their employee experience. So when we kind of went through the process and we thought about who might actually be using this, we thought, well, maybe it would be good to kind of focus on helping a global HR manager measure and kind of improve their employee experience. So I'm going to now share my screen, and we can quickly look at what we can make with Looker and kind of walk you guys through it. So give me 1 second. So this was the application that we created that's completely powered by Looker. Like I said, this is for a global HR manager. So we kind of just, keeping in mind the design thinking aspects that Anton touched on, and treating this like a product, and kind of approach this how we would approach any other product. So you can see we've kind of taken a layered approach. We have metrics that are perhaps more high level and things that need to be touched on quickly, visible by default. But we also know visualizing and providing all of these numbers can be challenging from a user experience perspective. So by using a layered approach, we kind of help get data to the people that need them when they need them. So if someone does need to dig deeper, there are tools that they can use in this application to do that. So for example, when we look at wellness initiatives, people can always drill in using this web application, kind of compare it over different departments and kind of see how that's working. So again, it's just about providing data to people where they need it. So not everyone needs this fidelity of data, but some people might. We also, kind of approach this from like a microservices lens and kind of see what we can leverage. So you can see we have a map available for users, and they can kind of drill down geographically as well. In this instance, I'm based out of Toronto, so we can look at the Toronto office. But users can kind of, get quick views in different geographies and different campuses, and kind of compare and look for trends across different places that the company operates in, and just really kind of get to help them get to an insight faster. Just because we were using Looker, there's also functionality that we can add for people who are maybe even one step deeper and want to go very deep into the data. So we can use Looker embedded functionality to even just display things like the Looker Explorer, which I don't know how many of you are familiar with, but it's a great tool to kind of dig very deep into the data. So you can use the dimensions and the measures to kind of view the numbers. But you can also have visualizations that Looker has as a product, and also start to filter stuff within this dashboard. So really, we approach this like a product. We approach this as incremental improvements, and because of that, there are things that you can see that perhaps are not typical to a dashboard. So there are salient features like alerts, directories, news, profiles, things about, again, just bringing the data to the people when they need them. And when we think about the data as a product, there are also certain features that are now expected from a lot of web applications that we thought we might be good to integrate. So, for example, one of them is toggling between dark and light mode, which obviously, is very useful and is becoming more and more a client expectation from some of these applications. So, we created this tool in around 6 weeks, and we could kind of really show just how using Looker, you can be, you can treat things like a product. You can be very incremental in how you approach things. You can think outside of the box when it comes to user experience and design, and really approach it from a design thinking angle. And we also recognize that data is not always the easiest to visualize, but because of the flexibility that we're afforded with Looker, we're not constrained to some of the typical visualizations that you see. So a core problem that the visualization sometimes have is, how do you display all of this content, all of this data very quickly? So we kind of thought outside of the box, and we provide users options to kind of use these visualizations that have a lot of data behind them quickly. They can kind of go through and look at the weeks. They can look at how the satisfaction rate is across the different cities. But again, we have that flexibility to really, do what's right for the users and what's best for the users and treat this like a product. And, we don't have the typical constraints that, you might have. So I'm going to hand it back to Himesh now.
So we just got a really interesting question, and this is perfect timing before we go into the full Q&A segment. So the question is, the image of the Appnovation platform powered by Looker had some really cool visuals, especially, and this is, they're referencing to a link on our site. But they had some really cool visuals, especially the multi-layer gauge and the wavelengths. Were those custom visualizations through Looker or the platform? And can you speak more to that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. There are visualizations that we use building Google Charts. So while they're not native to the Looker platform, they're powered by Looker and Google Charts. But really, it is about separating that design layer that we did. So the long and short of it is it uses Google Charts, but the data comes in from Looker.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Son. We have just a little bit under 9 minutes left. I think that everybody's been, I've been very impressed with a lot of this conversation, and it's super interesting. I want to jump into a couple questions. We've covered a lot and been introduced to some exciting concepts and strategies and tools. I think I'm going to open it up to the first question we have from Amol Shah, and I'll put this towards Gavin and Anton. What are the top 5 areas you'd recommend organizations to focus on building a roadmap for when building a data strategy? This, for example, master data, data quality, governance, org structure, etc.
You want to go first, Gavin?
Sure. I'll just focus on one piece of it, and I think when organizations really look at their data, the data quality is one that is vastly more difficult than people expect. I think it feels like 80% of the work on data projects is fixing data quality issues. I think just from a roadmap perspective, that's the one piece people try and fit at the end, and once you get to the end of the project, there's never enough time to get it right.
Anton?
I'd take a slightly different approach is to think about, look at a project like that holistically, or a roadmap. You have to think about, what is the value that this is going to be bringing to the organization, and going back to the things that I was mentioning earlier, who and where and when are you going to be delivering these insights to users? So one thing that we've started to do with some of our clients is when we come and start to look at these, large programs around data, we start to map out through a data blueprint, like where are all the places that data is coming, who are all the people that are using it, where can it improve? And we have this visualization, and it's similar to like a customer journey, but it's a visualization of what the data means for the whole organization. And you can map it against customers, or you can map it against the operation of your company, and then understanding where the value of what each of these steps is, where you're trying to bring it. And this tool can become the kind of center point of, okay, where do we focus first? Where do we need to improve stuff? Where can we get the most value early? So just having this holistic visualization of data across your organization is a really great way to start these things. And then all the things that you've mentioned there, data quality and governance, those bubble up into this kind of where you tackle these first.
Yeah, I do like that. And I think it goes back to, you can also go back to your points about the maturity frameworks and models, and how we have to ensure that we have the right foundation, the data is clean, to Gavin's point. How do we interpret it correctly so we have the foundations, hindsights, then we build out the insights and move up and up to scale there. But I do like that.
And I think, like, you know, moving to a data-driven company or bringing data more into a company's the way that they work is it's a kind of change management aspect to it as well. You know, you need to get people on board. You need to help them understand where the value is going to come, why you're doing it. So bringing them into the process as well helps with that from the outset. So making it a core to the actual program.
Excellent. I have a question for Skander. Can you give us other examples of customers monetizing data?
Yes. Actually, the last customers we've onboarded early this year, and obviously that we can officially talk about. The company name is called Spire. They are building satellites and they're collecting satellite data especially for tankers and boats around the globe. And they capture data from those satellites, bring this data into BigQuery, and they used to deliver data to different tankers and shipping companies through an API. And they wanted to create a new offering where they can build, where they can bring data visualization and data analytics product to their customers. Imagine thinking of analyzing ports and harbors, traffic, helping optimizing routes for fuel efficiency for those tankers. And they created a net new offering, Spire Maritime Analytics, by embedding Looker and going to market within weeks. So they were really able to satisfy a customer need and of course, monetize this new offering for their customer.
Excellent. We had another question come in. So I'm going to throw this one back to Saad. Was the Looker GUI we just saw built by Appnovation? It does look amazing. I'd love to take credit for it, but I won't. I'll let Saad answer on that one.
Well, thanks for that. It was built by us. I'm not the designer, so I won't take credit. But yes, Appnovation built that.
Excellent.
I can take credit. It was somebody in my
credit by association.
There we go. And I think time permitting, so the last question we have now, I'm going to put this out to Gavin. How long does it take to roll out a minimal viable product here?
I think really the question should be is how long do you have to build that minimum viable product? Anyone could say you could use Skander's example and say you could be into production 45 days, but really the question is for your organization, what is it going to take to really learn something valuable from this minimum viable product? Like how do you know if it's been successful, and what learnings can you really take from that activity to build a useful data product going forward on it? And I think often that gets into kind of the meta question is, what data are you collecting about your data product? Who's using it? What insights are they getting? Because really, if people aren't using it, then you're not really delivering value from it. So really go back to is, the question is, you need to build something fast. You can build something fast with Looker, but really it's how fast can you deliver something valuable?
Yeah, maybe MVP is not minimal viable product, but minimal valuable product here.
Yeah, no one really wants a viable product. You want something lovable. I'd much rather talk about minimum lovable products than just something viable enough to work. That's
awesome. We are out of time now. I really appreciate all the panelists for their time. I know I've come out of this a little bit smarter. We do have this session recorded, and we will be sharing the links and making it publicly available shortly after. But I would like to thank everybody for attending. And again, I'd like to thank all the panelists for their time and sharing their knowledge.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Take care all.